He's been called the bad boy of country music. I know him as a patriotic American. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain. This is the show where we talk about faith, family, culture, and anything else that's on my mind. My guest today is the renowned country star, John Rich, who is the owner of Redneck Riviera, and he is here to share about his family, his faith, and his love for our nation. John, welcome so much to Conversations.
Thank you for having me on. Always good to talk to you.
Well, I love watching you, and we've known each other now, maybe for 20 years, and I'm so excited about the things that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, we have known each other a while. I remember hearing you speak, whenever that was, wherever that was, somewhere here in Nashville, and I went, I got to know who that is. Just because the way you spoke, learning your story, I went, that is a deep well of a person. And I remember I came down and introduced myself, and our friendship started there. And haven't things gotten interesting since then? Pretty incredible.
Certainly. Our nation has certainly moved in directions that I don't think either one of us expected. We knew that things were bad. Things are always bad. But what we are confronting today just seems like a whole new deal.
Yeah, I think what we knew people wanted to do with and to the country, we're now seeing them do it. Like back then you would say, you know, there's a bunch of socialists in this country, right? Like there's a bunch of socialists and quasi-communists in places of authority, but you would say that back then. They go, oh, you're crazy, go put your tinfoil hat back on and get in the basement. Yeah, well now it's not so crazy, is it? Because you turn on television, you read the bills coming out, and you go, socialist, communist, and they lay it out and they go, yeah, absolutely, because capitalism is bad. So at least they're coming out and finally saying it. We don't have to accuse them of it anymore because they're verifying the fact that that's where a lot of their heads are at.
And I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe 20 years ago, you were with Big and Rich then. You were a little bit more cautious in that you were appealing more to the mainstream. And now I see you as someone, that's out there carrying the flag and the banner, and you are open about your faith as well as your patriotism and love for this country. Mm-hmm. And that is something that it's exciting to watch, but we've all been pushed in that direction. There's no place to be on the sidelines.
Right. You're exactly right. So, in country music, I think the fans, the radio audience, the concert goers, they assume to a large degree that the folks in Nashville on Music Row and the people that own their radio stations or whatever are probably pretty much like they are, right? Because they make country music.
Right.
We love country music, so we probably think the same way about things. Not at all, not the case at all. So, not everybody on Music Row, but a vast majority of the people in charge of what happens on Music Row are as wild-eyed left as you can possibly be. And they do it out in the open. You can go on their Facebook pages and read what they're saying and go, I can't believe that's the head of a record label saying something like that for everybody to read, but now they are. So the fans don't understand what Music Row is like and what a lot of radio is like. So you've got all these artists sitting there, big artists, that go, well, I'm a conservative, but if I step out there and say what I really think about this or who I actually voted for, or I pick a side of an issue that I really believe in, I may not get played on the radio anymore, or I may be penalized in the industry one way or the other. I may not get, this award show or that big performance or whatever. And so I looked at all that for several years and I went, I know what they're going to do.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt that's what's going to happen. But I thought, I feel like I'm sacrificing my freedom of speech in exchange for their approval, and that's not a good trade. It's not a good trade. My freedom of speech is more valuable than their approval, and I know what a lot of the fans think. They think like I think,
Right.
So to me, as I go out and I talk about our country and what's important to me and what I'm for and what I'm against, I know a lot of the industry is going to go, well, he's done. Yeah, but guess what? All the fan base that thinks like me goes, ding, 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 that guy. He's actually saying it. And so the loyalty that comes from the fans is just huge.
Well, I can tell you that you survived the cancel culture before we were calling it that, because you did take some stances that people would criticize. Your support of Donald Trump and other candidates that were conservative, it always comes with a price, but you're doing quite well.
Well, there's a price in both directions, though.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that price you're talking about is really the approval of the industry, and the price on the other side is me being able to sleep okay at night because I know that I didn't hold something in and because I was afraid. No, say it. There's going to be a price to pay, but the price to pay on the other side is you're a fake. Well, I don't want that price. I'd rather be legitimately myself and say what I want to say and deal with whatever the price they're going to put on me. At least I'm not putting a price tag on myself. You know what I mean? It's not a penalty coming from me. And also, when you're raising kids in this environment, in this country, they need to see men and women who are not afraid to say the truth, to stand on what they know is fact and what's true and what God teaches us to stand on, no matter what the world may say about it.
Right.
The verses that say, in the New Testament, he says, if they crucified me, what are they going to do to you? Basically, that's what he was saying. Like, if they persecuted me, they're going to trust me. They're coming for you if you follow me. So to me, if nobody was upset about the things that I say, then I'm not saying them right.
You're right. And tell us about your latest album, Earth to God.
So as a songwriter, it was about April of 2020. Everything shut down. Kids can't go to school. We'll remember it all too well. And then you see the riots happening.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like one thing after
It's
another
horrible.
piling up out here outside of our windows. And I thought to myself, what do we even have in common anymore? Is there anything we still have in common? And I'm walking around the house. I said, yeah, unfortunately, the one thing we have in common is we can't control what's going on. It's totally out of our control. Left, right, whatever, coronavirus, all this stuff going on. And I thought, so the one thing we have is that we don't have any control, and we were all created by God.
Amen.
And he wants us all to be with him eventually. He wants us all to be there. So I thought it's almost like Earth should send a hail out to God, like an old CB radio, Earth to God, come in, God.
Well, I want to talk more about that, and we will take a break. And when we return, more with John Rich, his incredible story and his contributions to America.
Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain is made possible by Cooper Steel, a family-owned business that provides the steel fabrications for some of the greatest buildings across the United States. 60 years ago, Kenneth and Faye Cooper founded their company in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Cooper Steel believes in sponsoring Carol Swain because we believe as she does, you build strong, you stand strong.
What started as a vision and now a nationally recognized and operated company that remains true to its founders' Judeo-Christian values and principles. Cooper Steel is committed to excellence, responsibility, and community. Cooper Steel's motto is, build strong, stand strong. They treat their employees and customers like family. Thank you to Cooper Steel for standing strong with Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain. Learn more about our generous sponsor at coopersteel.com.
Welcome back. John, your song, Earth to God, what's been the reaction to it?
So if you go on YouTube and look up Earth to God, you'll see that video. And I would urge people to read the comments. I don't even know. I think it's been viewed over 2 million times now. And there are thousands and thousands of comments. And of course, there's a lot of Christians that comment on it. But the ones that really get my attention are the atheists, the people that that really don't want anything to do with God or anything else, responding to the song. This one atheist, he went on there and he said, I've been an atheist for 42 years. He said, I just watched your video, and this is the first time I've gone down on my knee to talk to God.
Praise God.
So maybe it's, maybe that song, it's so simple, it gets right to the point. There's no filler in that song whatsoever. And it was written from a spot of extreme sincerity, and I feel like clarity from him that, hey, John, I want you to say this in a song. I want you to remind people I'm here. All they got to do is say, earth to God, come in, God. Hey, I'm here. I'm here, you're there. Are you still there? And he's like, yes, I'm still here. Because he is still there. So I think that's where music and what I do in music can take a thought like that, simplify it, put a melody on it, and just drill a hole right into people's soul and make them think about it.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about you, John, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have children, and as they've grown, it seems to me that you have become more open, more conservative, more open about your faith, and a lot of people probably don't know that your father is a pastor.
He is. So growing up, he started preaching at 19 years old, and he's never preached in the big fancy churches. He's more along the lines of preaching in prisons. My dad preached at 32 Mardi Gras down on the French Quarter, right in the middle of it, standing on the street corner with a guitar around his neck, singing gospel songs, and then he'd pull out his Bible and start preaching. And there's pictures of my dad down there with marches and parades going by, people throwing stuff at him, spitting at him, you name it. And he just stand right there year after year after year doing that. And so, I grew up watching this guy believe so strongly in the truth that he said, other people need to hear this. And I said, Dad, why don't you go, you're such a great minister. Why don't you go preach in a big church somewhere, get a salary and stuff like that? He goes, people in church don't need to hear what I'm saying. They already know what I'm saying. He said, it's the people in the streets, it's the people in the prisons, it's the people that ain't ever going to walk in a church. That's where I'm supposed to go and talk. So for me, you talk about earth to God, those comments, here's somebody that does not go to church, they're not into it at all, but they run across that piece of music and it hits them. That's a success.
I know, and so it almost makes you an evangelist.
Well, that song is doing some work. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I'm an evangelist, but I do think if you've got enough nerve to stand up and take the heat and say what's true, it should inspire other people to do the same.
And John, when people visit your home and, you have this huge home.
Right.
I could call it other things. But what they don't know about you, they look at you today, you're so successful, you have your businesses, that you grew up in poverty.
Well, we didn't miss meals, but there weren't any extras. So it wasn't like your story. Your story is truly true poverty. But I tell people I grew up in a double-wide trailer in Texas. I have a high school diploma and the American dream in my back pocket. I'm set. How about you?
Well, one of the things about your story that's always stuck with me is that you were teased, you were bullied and shamed because of your shoes.
Right.
As a child.
Yeah, so, I'm the oldest of four. And so you would go to this, secondhand store to buy your shoes. So I remember getting a pair of Converse when Converse were the thing, those kind of canvas Converse. And I found a pair in there, but they were real dirty. So I took them home, got an old toothbrush and some laundry detergent, and I bet I spent 2 hours scrubbing that thing out, let them dry the next day, do it again till they looked as new as I could possibly get them. And I wore them to school, and this other kid whose dad was an attorney, he had the brand new Reeboks on, and he looked at my shoes and made a snide comment about my shoes. Well, this kid also played trumpet, and I played trumpet in the school, but I was first chair, and he was fourth chair.
Right.
So music played a big role, and that's why music education is such a big deal. It played a big role in my self-confidence of, I may have hand-me-down shoes, but you're fourth chair. So you can't buy what I've got because I practiced to get that. And that's where I think I started learning hard work can overcome the disadvantages you might run into. The hard work can get her done if you're willing to do it.
And tell us about your first successful song.
My first successful song, well, depends on how you want to define success.
Your career. Just talk about
Well, no, you're going to love
career.
this story.
Okay.
You're going to love this. the first time I ever really wrote a song that I think was successful was when there was a girl I wanted to go out with. I don't care what any country singer tells you, they pick up guitars for girls. That's it. This girl was dating a football player. I couldn't be on the football team. There ain't no way I could handle it. But I wanted to get this girl's attention, so I wrote a song about her, put it on a cassette, and dropped it in her locker, and guess what? Got a date with the girl. So I'd say that's my first successful song. The first song that ever made any money was a song called Come Crying to Me, which was in 1996 when I was in the band Lone Star. That was the first time. I remember I was on the road with Lone Star playing, and my dad calls, and he goes, hey, something from BMI just showed up here at the house. I said, well, open it up. He goes, okay, and he opens it up. He looks at it. He goes, it's a check. I said, how much is it? He goes, this can't be right. I said, what does it say? And he told me the number. I said, that's more than I thought it was going to be. He goes, what do you want me to do with it? I said, put it back in the envelope and stick it somewhere. You know, I was freaked out. I was on the road. I come home, and we put the check in, and the first thing I did was I went and bought a house for my Granny Rich and my Papaw Rich. Bought them a house because they were Social Security, renting a house, barely getting by. Bought them a house, and I lived in the basement of that house for the next 5 years. Well, families, you know, you got to take care of your family, and you know, it's still that way with me today. If family needs something, we go figure out how to help them, and I think that's Americans in general. We look for ways to help each other. We don't need the government to take our money so they can help whoever they want. We'll help people as we see fit, and I think we're more generous on a base level than any nation that's ever existed.
Well, one of the songs that I really loved was the one that you wrote during the 2008 recession.
Shutting Detroit down.
Right. I mean, I thought that was so powerful.
Yeah, so that was, I remember watching the news, and the bailouts were starting to happen, and I saw 3 or 4 big CEOs take their bailout money.
Right.
And then fire 20,000 people after they got the bailout money. And I was so disgusted by that, I said, I'm writing a song about that. I'm sure nobody will ever hear it, but I'm writing it anyway. So I pulled the guitar out, and I write, in the real world, they're shutting Detroit down.
Yeah.
While the boss man takes his bonus pay and jets on out of town. And did not plan on putting the song out. It wasn't on a record. I was at a radio station in New Jersey, and the on-air guy goes, have you written any songs lately? I said, yeah, actually I wrote one last week called Shutting Detroit Down. He goes, well, play it for us. So I played it live on the radio, and the phone lines exploded, and I went, okay, that was interesting. And next thing you know, he goes, do you have a recording of this? I said, I haven't even demoed it. So I went and demoed it, sent it to the guy in New Jersey. He played it and went crazy. Next thing you know, it becomes a big hit. Country music. I got asked to sing it at the Academy of Country Music Awards that year.
That is wonderful.
You know, a pencil and a piece of paper. You know, probably the 2 most powerful things ever, and they're available to everyone. And for me, anytime I've hit those tough spots in my career, lost a record deal, lost a publishing deal, radio won't play you, whatever, you're damaged goods for this period of time, you still got a pencil, still got a sheet of paper, you're still in the ballgame. You know, I remind people all the time, the Constitution started out as blank paper. The Bible started out as blank paper. You know, you can put something on that piece of paper, no matter what kind of money you make, don't make, what you look like, where you came from, that could change the world.
That's right. That is so powerful. We're going to take a break, and when we return, I want you to give advice, you know, to the audience about things we can do to help change America. We'll be back after a word with our sponsors.
Dr. Carol Swain's Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise, newly released in paperback and audio with a new introduction, is a challenge to all Americans. If you are serious about being the best citizen you can be, this is the book for you. From addressing moral relativism to reclaiming the future, you'll understand why Dr. Swain is one of the most relevant voices in today's culture war. Are you ready to reclaim America's faith and promise? Purchase at bethepeoplenews.com/books or wherever books are sold.
The Biden administration's executive order on immigration brings to the forefront one of the most volatile issues of our time. In this timely second edition of Debating Immigration, I join my voice to that of other experts to provide you with facts and information that will help you understand what is at stake for our nation. This edition offers 21 original essays that cover race, religion, economics, human smuggling, and civil rights.
Purchase at bethepeoplenews.com/books or wherever books are sold.
We're back with John Rich. So, John, what advice do you have for other Americans? We look at Congress. They've been such a disappointment. And we're at this moment now where white people in particular, all of a sudden, they need civil rights advocates. Did you ever think that would be the case in America?
That conversation has gotten really interesting, hasn't it? I mean, I look at relationships, friendships I've had for decades with people that don't look like me. And I go, yeah, that's never been the case with us. It's just, I think they say if they say it enough times in a row, we're all just going to have to eventually believe that that's the way it is. It's just not true. So, my advice for people, especially if you're a parent, I'll speak to them since that's what I am,
right,
is don't think about yourself and what people are going to say about you and call you a bad name or target you on Facebook or whatever. Be an example to your kids as a mom or a dad, a man or a woman who's got enough backbone and conviction about what the truth actually is to say it even knowing that you're going to have incoming. You're going to have fire coming back at you because your kids, we think this is bad. Wait till our kids get in their 20s and 30s and 40s down the road. What's it going to look like then? There's no telling. And they're going to think back when they were kids watching how mom and dad dealt with that first volley. And they need to have an example set of, yeah, they didn't back up off that. I watched mom get called all kinds of bad names, but that's not who she is, so you reject it. Cancel culture, when they try to brand you with a title that you're not, people say, well, how do you deal with that? I go, I reject it.
That's right.
Because that's not me. Now, if I really was a Nazi, or I really did have a problem with black people or Hispanic people or anybody else, if I really was that person, that would concern me, but I don't. So you can call me that all day long, and it doesn't make it true. So in my soul, my heart, I know, yeah, but it's not true, so I just reject it. Next, what else you got? And I think that attitude has to step forward because they play on the fear of people. They want to make you so afraid that they're going to brand you with something that you won't speak up. You won't say anything. That's the whole playbook, right? So what do you do to a bully? What do you do to a bully in your third grade and this bully's messing with you? I know what my dad taught me to do. Pop him in the nose one time.
Oh, no.
Dad's like, hey, that kid pushes you one more time. Pop him in the nose one time. Well, and he'll think about it next time.
Well, John, one of the things that really is distressing for me, now parents are beginning to organize, but there are a lot of parents, white parents, who are allowing their children to be shamed and bullied because of the color of their skin. And I know that with the diversity, equity, and inclusion officers, they have pretty much worked their way into every sector of American society, including K through 12 education, with the whiteness, white privilege, everything is anti-racist discrimination, and by anti-racist, they mean pretty much they want white people to apologize for being white, apologize for their ancestry, and then to champion a civil rights that really is discriminatory, that runs contrary to many of our laws.
So when you read some of this stuff that I've read in curriculums, first of all, it's attacking kids.
It is, I know.
First of all, I call it state-sponsored racism. I think that's a phrase that should be used because that's what it is. You're telling, because I read it myself, you're telling this kid that he's responsible for this kid not being able to succeed.
Right.
So you're doing two things. You're putting guilt on this one kid who's never done anything to anybody. He's an innocent kid. And you're telling the other kid, you're dictating this kid's future based on the color of his skin. All these things that you're saying to these children are based on the color of their skin. It's both directions. I mean, to tell a minority student that you can't succeed because your buddy that you played baseball with is keeping you down. And maybe he isn't right this second. Oh, but trust me, he's going to at some point. That's attacking kids. And what does the Bible say about that? It's probably the closest Jesus Christ ever got to cussing. I bet if you heard it in the original language, he probably let a few rip. But he said, you'd be better to tie a millstone around your neck and throw yourself into the depths of the sea than to ever cause one of these little ones to what? Stumble is the word he used, to stumble. Meaning you'd be better off to kill yourself than do that. Tie a rock around your neck and jump in the ocean. So you tell me what critical race theory is teaching these kids. Is that causing them to stumble? Is it putting something in their mind that causes them that can mess them up? Absolutely it is. It is absolutely sin and an abomination to tell kids things like that. And if our tax dollars are going to support it, then I'm going to call it state-sponsored racism, because that's what it is.
It is, and it's also the case that a lot of people that may not be Christian can see the impact that it's having on their children. And you think about children naturally, they have friends and they know their friends by their names. We're teaching them to look at their friends as members of racial groups. Mm-hmm. And if you're a person that's non-white, then you are oppressed. No matter what kind of family you come from, you could come from a family more affluent than the white person, but then you're told that the white people, because of the color of their skin, they have a privilege, they have power, they have something you don't have. How could that be helpful to our society? We know that it isn't.
You're injecting poison right into their minds every single time you do that. We've got this thing called the American dream, and it's for everybody. You know, not the right to be happy, the right to pursue happiness. That's the difference between the two. Those are, to me, are the counter narratives, as simple as that. A lot of people say we've got the right to be popular, the right to be successful, the right to be happy. No, you don't have any of those. You have the right to go for those things.
Right.
The fact that we're allowed to go for them should inherently make us happy. I mean, this very day, billions of people wake up around the world, just like they do every day, and they don't have the right to pursue happiness. So they don't have the right to exhaust their potential because of the government that's over the top of them or whatever their surroundings might be. But in America, we're allowed to go for it. We're allowed to chase down the American dream. Teach kids that. Make them feel like they can run through a brick wall, because they can run through a brick wall.
I agree, and we're both products of the American dream. And I've been successful because I believed in America. I love my country, and my country offered me equal opportunity. And when we talk about equity, we're not talking about equal opportunity. They're not putting forth any type of ideology or value system that would help children be successful.
Yeah, they're talking about equality of outcome.
Right.
There is no such thing as equality of outcome. Yeah, you got to go for it, guys. And that's what I say this to. I've said it to billionaires, and I've said it to little poor kids. You know, take advantage of the right to pursue happiness, exhaust your potential. Guys, you can run through a brick wall someday. Just let's go. You know, pump them up. Not drag them down, and don't attack our kids with this nonsense. I hope America wakes up to it left and right and does not allow that in our schools.
Now, politically, what advice would you give people? Because we know that the 2022 elections will be coming up soon, 2024. So I'll let you kind of close out with what you would
Well,
tell
I'm
our
disappointed
audience.
in a lot of Republicans. I don't know about you. People that claim to be conservatives and patriots, and they didn't follow through at the end of the day, did they? And so I picked up my phone and I called them, because I've raised a lot of money for a lot of those people. And I called them on the phone and I said, you're supposed to say and do what we would do if we were in the room when that was happening, on all these various things that are going on right now. And you didn't. So guess what? I don't support you anymore. So I'm hoping that, you know, citizen government starts to really step up and take a big push. I think, you know, only people who hate politics should run for office.
And I agree, and people that are not going there to stay, that they're the statesmen, that they're going there to make the changes, because too often we're disappointed by the politicians we put our faith in.
If you like politics enough to stay in it for 30 years, something's wrong with you.
I know, and you're going to change the system, and we're supposed to trust you.
Right. No, doesn't work that way.
Well, John, thank you so much for being on Conversations. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm so excited about you and the things you're doing in the world.
Thank you, Dr. Swain. Always good to be with you.
All right. We'll be back in a moment.
For those of you who would like to know what exactly our children are facing in their education system, this is a must-read book. It will equip you and prepare you to make decisions about your child's health, about your child's education. So I want to encourage every one of you to grab a copy of Dr. Swain's book and join with me and Carol on the front lines in this critical time to eradicate the liberal abduction of our children.
We'd like to thank John Rich for being on this show. Remember to go to YouTube and watch his video, Earth to God, and also look at the website, Redneck Riviera. Lots of great things there. John Rich is a national treasure, so follow him. And also tune in again next week, and you can find me on bethepeoplenews.com. Thank you.